Well, Merry Christmas, a little early. I wanted to kind of go through the thought process I had when choosing various, what ended up being Christmas gifts for me, or for the family in some cases, I suppose. And it's a difficult process because there's so many games that, I wanted, as I'm sure that's true for everybody. I'm relatively new to the hobby. Played board games my whole life, but relatively new to modern board gaming. And by modern board gaming, I'm going to say everything from Pandemic on, or maybe Catan on, but certainly the modern gaming world. And so I went through a process. I started out with a pretty good group of games that I thought I might be interested in, and wanted to whittle it down from there, obviously. And some things happened along the way, which allowed me to modify things sometimes to my benefit, as far as getting more games than I thought I might. And sometimes things happened where I found something out or learned something that caused me to take games off the list. So I want to go through that process with you and help you to see what I went through. And I'm guessing you might be able to relate to it because I know I go through the same kind of thing agonizingly. It seems like with every purchase, and certainly with board game purchases. So let's see how this all turns out. I'm going to guess, like a lot of people, you start out with just a plethora of games that you might like to have. And along the way, some other ones pop up in your mind because you hear a good review, or people are talking about it, or you go to Board Game Geeks and you see it's high on the list and you say, maybe that's something I should have, and you research a little bit more. If you're like me, you then go to YouTube and see what the reviews are, maybe look at an unboxing or two, and try to figure out from that massive list what you want to cut and why, what you want to include and why, and you kind of take it from there. And that's the process that I followed. All right, so some of the games that were cut fairly early on. Let's start with New Angeles. Loved the concept, but minimum of 4 players. The chances of me getting 4 players together on any sort of regularity is probably not real high. So I ruled that one out immediately. Star Wars Destiny looked really interesting to me, but my boys and myself are really into the Magic the Gathering, and I just couldn't see getting into another game where you have to buy a lot of cards and dice, and you're gonna have to buy packs, and so that one was ruled out. Solarius was ruled out simply because I didn't know enough about the game, and I thought, there's other ones that are at least as interesting, maybe more interesting to me. And then finally, Arkham Horror, the card game, was another one where I felt like, if I need more than 2 to play, I'm going to have to get other people involved, and there's certainly going to be expansion packs for it. I didn't want to go down that path, again, for the same reasons I didn't want to go into the Star Wars Destiny. So those are the reasons for those 4 getting cut fairly early on in the process. Now, these 4 games were interesting to me for a lot of different reasons, and all of them ended up getting cut mainly because they were too hard to find, and I didn't want to wait. And then with Scythe, I had heard that it was good, but again, the reviews I got from people I knew were a little mixed. I heard great things about Great Western Trail, but I, again, found a little bit of difficulty finding that game. Conan, same thing, and Terraforming Mars was sold out just about everywhere, and I thought, we're too close to Christmas to mess around with this. These would be games that I'll look at toward the next year because they're just too darn hard to come by. Or they were just coming out, but when I looked at them, the prices weren't that much less than what the retail was, and I thought, you know what? I'd rather get a deal on something now and then wait for these things to drop in price later on, or be available on a site like Amazon where I can get it for a good price, and I get free shipping. I'm a Prime member, so that helps there too. So that's why Terraforming Mars, Scythe, Great Western Trail, and Conan were ruled out. All right, so let's look at it a different way. What was left? Well, Viticulture was certainly strong on my list. Mage Knight, because I thought I really wanted a solo game. Twilight Struggle, because it was rated really high, and one of my boys is really into politics and the Cold War, and I thought I could at least play with him because it's a 2-player game. That I tried the iOS version and really liked it, and I thought I want to be able to play this in a board game with my son. Blood Rage, because the figures were really cool, and I thought, this is a game that's, again, it's like the 5th highest rated. Mechs versus Minions I thought looked really cool. Again, a lot of value for the buck, but I wasn't sure if we would make it in time for Christmas, so that was an iffy one. Robinson Crusoe, really hard to find the first edition lately, and the second edition wasn't out yet, and not due until the 21st. So I thought, I got to really think about that one. Though I really like the idea of that because I could play it solo, kind of like Mage Knight, but also play with more than one player, and it would scale up nicely. And Star Wars Rebellion, because it was like number 5 on the BGG list, and one of my sons is really into Star Wars, and I thought a 2-player game sounds perfect. Reenacts the Star Wars universe. Big fans of Star Wars, big fans of Star Trek. I thought that would be a great game to have in consideration. Then stuff happened, like I knew it would. Was playing with a couple guys that I just met, real nice guys, and they play board games regularly. So I went to their house, one of their houses, and one of the gentlemen was telling me about, this guy Matt was telling me about Heroes Wanted and Duel of Ages 2. He said, if you're playing with your boys and they're into like superheroes or stuff like that, boy, Heroes Wanted is really cool, really underrated game. It's these quirky heroes. They're not like real heroes. They're like D-list heroes, but they're trying to be B-list heroes, and so they're trying to solve some crimes, beat up some villains, stop some henchmen, and free some people along the way. It looked really interesting, and it is on my list for things to look at for the future. And it was a decent price, but I thought, I approached my boys with it, and they were lukewarm, and that's partly why I hesitated. They're like, Dad, you already have a lot of games, and so I thought, and it really is, you could play with 2, but I think it really plays best with more than 2, so I kind of ruled that out. Also, Duel of Ages 2, I couldn't find cheap at the time I was looking for it, so I thought, well, it looked like a pretty involved game, and again, it was one that I felt like it would play better with more people, because it talks about teams of 2, and I can't always get all 4 of them to the table. And then War of the Ring, it was a 2-player game, could be more. Plays well at 2 players, and again, one of my boys is really into Lord of the Rings. In fact, I think they all would be. And everything I heard about it said, this is the kind of game that you could play and leave on the table for a day or two. Leave set up because it does take up a big board. I thought, well, that Christmas holidays are coming up. I'm going to have time to play this, and even if I get it to the table twice a year, it would probably be worth it for the experience. And similar to Pandemic Legacy or something, where you're going to get the plays out of it, and eventually you're gonna get your money's worth out of it. And I thought that would be true. So it's the kind of game you leave on the shelf and take off every once in a while and do something with. Plus, I thought I could paint the miniatures, which might be kind of cool. But the problem with that game was it was out of sight price wise. You couldn't find it for less than minimum bid $100 on eBay, and everybody was out of it. Supposedly it was going to be reprinted again in February or something, but that doesn't make for a good Christmas gift. So that one was iffy. Well, let's talk about Blood Rage. Blood Rage is an awesome game. I love the minis. I like the Viking theme. I like the idea that there's a lot of card based and the combat. I like the monsters. I thought, well, I could paint these if I wanted to, and I have a couple ideas on that. But really looked cool. All the components looked well done, and Cool Mini or Not does a great job. But when I approached my boys on the idea of Blood Rage, I got lukewarm at best. None of them thought it would have been great. One of them was like, yeah, I'd probably try it. But he showed no great enthusiasm for it. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that. And then these 2 guys that I played board games with, as I mentioned, one of them said, yeah, this guy TJ has that game, and he'll loan it out. He's really good about loaning stuff out. So if you ever want to just borrow it and try it, you could do that. When I heard that, done deal. Blood Rage, sadly, was off my list. Robinson Crusoe has been on my list of potential games to buy for a long time. I've heard such good things about it. I like the concept of it. It's one of those things that I think, at least for me, theme-wise, I could get into easily. Being on an island, having to forage for food, shelter, fire, hunt things, and then go on missions to try to solve different puzzles, if you will. We'll try to accomplish different tasks. I thought, you know what, this is my kind of game, and I can play it solo if I want to, or I can play it with others. I heard it was really hard, but I also heard you could scale it by giving yourself more food or giving yourself, something else. And I thought, well, that would be something good. But it doesn't come out until the 21st of December. And that is way too close for Christmas. And because of some other things I'd already done, which I'll get to, I didn't want to mess around with that. So that's why that one, sadly, got dropped from the list. This brings me to Mage Night. And I recently joined a solo board gamers Facebook page. I don't know what it's called exactly, but anyway, I joined it. And there's a lot of dialogue about different solo games, and this one comes out at or near the top on just about everybody's list, with some exceptions. But it's a very highly rated solo game. And I've watched a couple videos of it, and it looked like something I could get into. And I thought, well, I could do this. I could play this game. I think I'd be into it. And so I was seriously thinking about it. I know it's kind of heavy, but I thought, I can certainly handle it. And it's something I can sit down with and go through the rules and watch a playthrough on YouTube and get it. But something happened that made me change my mind about this game. And the thing that happened was this game, Star Trek Frontiers. This is a game by the same developer, or the same author, I guess, the same creator, based on Mage Knight, but with the Star Trek theme. Now, some people are turned off because they used actual scenes from the movies or the television show. I have no problem with that. In fact, I'm not sure how else you'd do it. I don't want these people drawn. They're people that I recall being on television. So I want there to be good pictures, clear close-ups and action shots and so on that match up to the Star Trek universe. Perfect. And I've heard the addition of the away teams and negotiation added a lot to the game. And what the hell, it's Star Trek's 50th anniversary. This is supposed to be a pretty quality release from everything I've seen. HeroClix puts it out, but I guess the pieces are really nice. The cardboard's nice. Everything sounds nice. So that made me change my mind on Mage Knight. Hadn't finalized yet on the Star Trek, but thought if I'm going to get a solo game, it's going to be that and not Mage Knight. And then something happened on War of the Ring. Remember I said you couldn't find anything cheaper than $100 on eBay, plus shipping, and shipping usually $20, $25, something like that. And they were going for $150, $160. I said, there's no way I'm paying that for it. So I joined another board game group on Facebook, and I happened to mention that, hey guys, what do you think about my list? And I had, narrowed it down to some of the games we've been talking about, or I've been talking about in this particular video. And I said, War of the Ring, does anybody know where I can pick that thing up for a reasonable price? I'm not paying $100 for it. And somebody said, I'll sell it to you. I don't get it to the table very often. I don't have anybody in the house that'll play it. Beautiful game, but I'd rather get something else. So if you'd like it, I've only played it one time. Everything's punched out and everything, but it's in perfect shape. And I'll sell it to you with shipping for, it was like $70. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. Because everywhere I go, shipping is going to cost a few bucks. So War of the Ring, ka-ching, made it into my list. Okay, we've talked about what didn't make my list. Now let's take a look at what I finally ended up with. I mentioned War of the Ring, and that's only because I got a great price on it. Let me jump down to the bottom right, because I bought that one pretty early. Mechs vs. Minions. This one I bought thinking my boys would really like it. They love something called League of Legends. And this game is put up by Riot Games, who also puts out League of Legends. And apparently the four main characters, the heroes, are all characters that are in League of Legends. So I think they're really going to like this. At least conceptually, I think they're going to like it. And from what I understand of it, it's going to play a little bit like Robo Rally, which I always liked. However, it's going to be different than that. And if you haven't seen the components on this thing yet, I think I paid $75 shipped for this. An amazing deal because the components in this thing are really nice. I mean, obviously when you publish it yourself, you can save some money, and I guess that's how they did it. But it is a beautiful release, beautifully well done. It's about 16 pounds, I heard, so it's going to be a heavy, heavy release. But that is coming out here. I don't know if it'll make it in time for Christmas. Jumping back up to the top left, Star Wars Rebellion was something that one of my boys said he would love to be able to play with me. So it's a two-player game. The two could jump in if they really wanted to and kind of help. So there's a way to include them if we wanted to. But if not, Aaron and me, one of my boys, would play this. Aaron and I would play this. And then Star Trek Frontiers, I ended up with that because I wanted to get a solo game. I thought, you know what, I got them Mechs versus Minions, and they were lukewarm on a lot of other things I approached them with, so I said, finally, screw this. I'm going to get something I really want. I'm going to get a solo game that I can play, that if I want to include other people, I can, and that's exactly what's going on with Star Trek Frontiers, so I'm really looking forward to that. And it beat out Mage Knight for a number of reasons. I just like the theme better and so on. Next is Twilight Struggle. Highly rated. I like the concept of the Cold War and battling. I played it on the iOS version, which you can pick up for about $6, by the way. Well worth it. So I'm learning that way, and I thought, well, this will help me to be able to play the board game too, because sometimes the rules can get overwhelming. If I play it numerous times as a tutorial on the iOS, then so be it, and that's what I did. And then finally, a game that I've wanted for a while. Viticulture, the Essential Edition. I got it for like $40, and I got Tuscany for I think $25. And so for $65, I ended up with both of them, and I thought that was a really good opportunity there as well. And that's what I got. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it, and I really did enjoy the process of trying to figure out what to buy. It's never easy. But ultimately, I think I made some good choices. I'm happy with what I got, and hopefully the boys will be happy with playing some of the stuff. And maybe I could take it to a new friend's house and play it there too. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate this time of year. It's a great time to play games. Wintertime, people off from school, people on vacation. Great opportunity to play some board games. So I hope that you get to play plenty, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. But wait, I thought I was done. Lo and behold, on Facebook, I ran across somebody just today who said that he was looking to sell a handful of games for $15 a piece. And one of those games on the list happened to be something that I've had my eye on for a while. And just when I looked to buy it, it was just too much money, or it wasn't in stock anywhere. And I thought, well, I'm not going to buy that. It's essentially a card game. I'm not going to buy a card game for that. And it is Summoner Wars, the Master Set. He sent me a picture, and it's $15. I went ahead and picked it up. So that is added to my Christmas haul. Merry Christmas, guys.